the purifying of the church, the purifying of the vessels. The Bible calls it judgment in the house of God. Please write it and then I'll explain. The first thing God is doing in his prophetic program in the earth right now, even in Africa, even in our nation, across the body, is the purifying of the vessels, the purifying of the church. 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 17. 1 Peter 4:17. For the time is come, he says, that judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first begin at us, what shall the end be for them that obey not the gospel of God? Now, the idea of judgment, as we know in our world, is always associated with chaos, destruction. But that is not the idea of judgment when God speaks about judgment, especially relating to the believer. Are we together now? God's idea of judgment is rather of purification. Purification unto greater glory, not condemnation and destruction. Every time God speaks of judgment and it is destructive in nature, you read from scripture, it always has to do with the heathen or believers that have defied his instructions in rebellion. And most of these were events that happened before Christ. The moment Christ showed up, the dynamics of God's operation with man changed until now. Are we together? So the way that God dealt with people in time past, his character has remained the same, never to change. In the old, in the new, and forever. God is consistent as far as his character is concerned. But his modus operandi has changed because Jesus has now come as a new and living way. There was an advantage that they did not have in the Old Testament that we now have. That advantage is Jesus. So he has become the deciding factor as far as God's dealing with man is concerned. Never will God ever deal with man outside of the lens of the mediator. Jesus has become a permanent mediator between God and men. Are we together? So that should begin to alter our concepts. When we talk about judgment, especially within the house of God, it is rather the purifying. It says, and in a great house there are all kinds of vessels, of gold, of silver, of wood, and of clay. It says some vessels are unto honor and some are unto dishonor. If a man will purge himself, that man will become a vessel unto honor, meet for the master's use. Are we together? The purifying of the church. In Daniel chapter 5 and verse 17 and verse 27, I believe, give it to us. Daniel 5:27. Daniel was interpreting the writings on the wall, and he said, for tekel, it meant thou art weighed in the balances and thou art found wanting. Every time men are found wanting, what they need is the purifying judgment of God. Why does God purify the saints? The answer is in John chapter 15 from verse 2 and 3. John 15, 2 and 3. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away. But every branch that beareth fruit, he will purge. That's the word there. Purge, to the end that it may bring forth fruit. To the end that it may bring